Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Good morning. It's 8:15 a.m. and I call to order the July 14th, 2025 Board of Trustees meeting. Do I hear a motion to enter executive session?
Madam Chair, I move we enter into executive session to discuss employment recommendations and updates and review 2025-2026 homeschool applications.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. We will now enter executive session. Okay, do I hear a motion to conclude executive session?
Madam Chair, I move we conclude executive session.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, welcome back. The district is in compliance with the South Carolina Freedom of Information Act by notifying the media of the date, time, and place of the meeting. The district tapes the meeting for accuracy in preparing the minutes. I now yield the floor to Mr. Chris Rice.
Madam Chair, members of the board, members of the staff, and the audience, please rise as we say the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for a moment of silence afterwards. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
All right, do I hear a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Madam Chair, I move we approve the agenda as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the consent agenda to include approval of the June 10th, 2025 board meeting minutes, the new hire support staff report, and 2025-2026 homeschool applications.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion to approve 23 certified staff recommendations for the 2025-2026 school year?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 23 certified staff recommendations for the 2025-2026 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Woo, simultaneously, Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. Do I hear a motion to approve 3 administrative recommendations for the 2025-2026 school year?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve the 3 administrative recommendations for the 2025-2026 school year.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion carries. All right. We are moving on to the first reading of Policy IG, Curriculum Development, Adoption, and Review. So, Ms. Gaskins, would you like to join us up here?
So this is first reading, and since we did the introduction last time, I did receive some feedback on this policy, specifically about the language for the curriculum management plan being more explicit in the policy, so those revisions have been made. I have received some additional feedback over the weekend that I will work to embed ahead of second reading. Again, just really spelling out a little bit more what's included in that curriculum management plan, which is the procedural document that really answers the recommendations that came out of the curriculum effectiveness audit that we did, which is why we're bringing this policy forward for revision. In addition, we have also updated it with a career cluster language to be in compliance with the Education and Economic Development Act. Happy to answer any questions or take any additional feedback.
You referenced the policy related to this. Where might we be able to see a copy of the policy, the procedure?
The procedure.
Yeah.
I'm happy to share that. It is
Okay.
hot
Okay.
off the press, so this will be our first year of implementing it in 25-26. It was developed in 24-25.
Okay, that'd be great.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Gaskins. Next, we have the 2022B bond interest under budget projects. Mr. Clark Cooper.
Yes, ma'am, thank you. For board information, this is to notify you that we are going to use the remaining amount, the under budget closed projects, just over $512,000, and also the remaining available interest, just over $45,000 of the 22B capital project account. We're going to use that to partially pay for the LHS turf project. We will take, which is an approved 24B project, board approved 24B project. We will take that same amount of money from that line item for LHS turf and move it within the 24B account to the new projects. to the new projects line item. This will allow us to use the 22B money before it expires, and that project will obviously be complete this summer.
Board, do y'all have any questions for Mr. Cooper?
Mr. Cooper, moving this for the LHS turf, will this open up maybe expedite some other turfs next year, possibly?
Would love to speed that project, that process up. You know, the board did agree to that re-turf proposal, and yes, we are anxiously awaiting to bring our 25B capital projects to you, which will include a turf project, and it would be wonderful. We had to certainly check the amounts, but it would be wonderful if we could do a second turf field within that same year. But we're continuing to move through that sequence of turf scheduling, and want to get it done as quickly as possible for our student athletes.
What is that budget? What is that the cost for that Buxton High School field?
From memory, about 1.4 million. They are there today doing the concrete. I guess you call that apron, wouldn't you, Mr. Jett? The concrete apron, doing that part that will kind of outline the field. They've done the grading, doing the concrete, subsurface and drainage going in, and then roll the turf out on top.
How long does that project usually take?
About 8 weeks.
Well, when we did River Bluff, that was a return project.
Right.
So it didn't take as long.
Right.
The actual work, we only took about 4 weeks there. But yeah, 8 to 9 weeks. They're tracking on their schedule to be complete early August.
Okay.
First, second week in August. First game there is August 29th.
Okay, that's what I was going to ask. Okay, great.
Mr. Cooper, when we moved that $558,000 from the 2022B line item, will that close out the 2022B, or are there still other projects?
Yes, the vast majority it will. There's some very small amounts in some of those projects, some just in the hundreds of dollars of projects that were in, could have been $1 million. So yes, that will virtually close out 22B. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Okay, next up we have an update from the 2018 Bond Referendum Audit Committee, so I'm not sure. All right, Mr. Pizzuti, I'll hand it over to you.
So first off, I want to thank Dr. Weiss and his staff for working with us through this process. We are, in my opinion, in a good spot. Our last meeting, I think, overall has been our best meeting. We kind of zeroed in on what we were, the actual questions we want to get answered. So we're at a spot now where I think we should be advertising this thing very, very soon to get it out for the public and the contractors to bid on it. But I'll open the floor to any other committee members if they have any comments.
So if you had to quickly summarize the questions you want answered, what would those be?
Wow. Didn't know we were wanted it. It's different things about, I guess, scheduling, like the time frame between purchasing property and building a building, cost escalation and contracts from original budget to what they finished up. We're going to be looking at best practices of the procurement processes and the process overall. We're looking at some expenditures for change orders. What else am I missing, Chris?
Land purchases?
Yeah, land purchase, how we go through the land purchase process, and like I said, how when we purchase land, if we have a plan for the school, looking at is the land suitable or large enough for the type of school we want to build.
Protocol for updates to the board,
Yeah.
board approval,
Policies,
looking
updated
at
policies.
Procedures and protocols for when contractors are authorized to make changes, how those changes are reported back to the district, how they're reported to the board, what is the threshold level, when that gets done, what are the triggers. It's a lot, but you said quickly, so I'm just trying to give you a summary of some of the things that we're looking at. So we've really, like Mr. Pizzuti said, we really dialed in our last meeing, and laid out some specific things in the questions, and Dr. Price and the rest of the staff really helped us home in on, okay, so the question is this is the question. And I think we felt pretty confident that the document we've put together will speak to the vendors as to what we're trying to answer, what questions we have, and then obviously we can elaborate, but I think it's going to be pretty clear what we're asking them to look at now.
Thank you all so much. Mr. Anderson, Ms. Shealy, do you have questions for the committee?
No, appreciate all y'all's work on that. And then the timeline for getting the RFP out is, do we
Within a
know?
week, I would think.
Within the week?
Ms.
It
Marsh?
should be finalized this week.
Yeah, it should be finalized this week, correct? Yep.
Great, great. Appreciate it.
Great.
May I?
Yes.
I just want to thank Jennifer Miller and her team for their work, and then specifically Beth Marsh for doing a lot of work to try to get this from a concept to a point of specificity. And so she's done a great job of kind of navigating all of us through this process. So special thanks to her for that. And I think Ms. Miller has something to add.
I want to add up.
You may have to step up here for the mic to get you.
Did the board want to have discussions about the specific location of Gilbert, which project?
No, I think they moved beyond that in the discussion the other day to talk about.
It was included in the original, though. So would you have to amend the vote to remove it?
I think in my opinion, if it was up to us to write the RFP, and if we added something, we'd probably have to have a vote, but if something we removed, I don't.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but when we got to that topic, it was about, it kind of fell back to acreage size
Yeah.
and school size
yeah.
for ideal.
Correct, so another school was kind of hitting the same topic.
Correct.
So just to clarify, sorry, I wasn't in the committee, but so are we still reviewing that facility? And which facility are we reviewing? The Gilbert Elementary? Which Gilbert Elementary, if any?
I think it's none, not if any.
Okay,
It's-
so we took that one completely off.
That's correct.
Okay. So it's 3 locations and then outstanding?
South Lake, Lakeside Transportation Facility. Wait a minute, am I missing one?
Yeah, that was the three,
That was the three.
and then we had,
And then unfinished projects, that's correct, unfinished projects. And so the biggest line item from unfinished projects is the Pillion Middle project.
The old
old
Pillion
Pillion
Middle.
Middle.
Pillion Middle.
Because it was a line item for $2 million, and I think we've spent 10,000.
Mercedes. We're good. We don't have to change.
I think we're good. I was trying to pull up the motion.
I saw you over there
But
looking.
I think we're fine.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on to 7.4, which is our minority business report. And Ms. Miller, I'll turn it over to you for that.
Sure. In accordance with section 5240 of the district's procurement code, this is just a semi-annual reporting that is required. You received the last update prior to the end of January, and so you're receiving the one today prior to the end of July. And this just shows you the expenditures that took place for the period of January 1, 25 through June 30th, 25 with minority businesses. And if you have any questions,
Do you, off the top of your head, so, do you remember what that number was for the previous period?
Off the top of my head, I do not, but I know when I reviewed this, I did the math, and for the whole year period, the numbers worked, so, but I don't off the top of my head, but I could get that for you.
If you could just get, I was just curious as if we're trending upward, or we're trending downward, or if we're staying consistent, basically where we've been.
Any other questions for Ms. Miller? All right. Moving on to action items. Do I hear a motion to approve policy JJIE and JJIER, student and drug testing?
Madam Chair, I move we delete policy JJIE, JJIE-R, student drug testing.
Oh. Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Do I have a second?
second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All right, any discussion, Mr. Cooper?
No, ma'am, just that we're recommending this policy for deletion in accordance with our budget priorities. And I've seen, had no feedback since the first reading.
Thank you. Any discussion, board?
Mr. Cooper, I would say that, or you just confirmed that most schools have done the same thing, correct? Or districts, not schools, excuse me.
Yes, sir. When we were doing our research, very few districts around the state do participate in this. And in fact, Communications sent out a kind of a listserv email, and we only got feedback back from that 2 districts that participated.
If a student comes to school and is obviously under the influence, do we have we have the right to maybe the resource?
Being under the influence, so would be a violation of our discipline code.
Okay.
So that would be a violation of the drug and alcohol policy, being under the influence. So that
We're
would be
just not
handled through-
testing them.
Yes,
Right.
ma'am. The random drug testing for student athletes and student drivers was separate from the discipline policy.
Okay. All right, board, all those in favor of deleting the policy? Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Cooper. Well,
Might as well stay.
you just stay. You're with our next one, too. Do I hear a motion to approve allocated 2018 bond referendum funds for improvements to River Bluff High for press box structural enhancements and to White Knoll High School to install a rooftop access ladder at the Performing Arts Center?
Yes, Madam Chair, I move that we approve allocated 2018 bond referendum funds for improvements to River Bluff High School for press box structural enhancements and to White Knoll High School to install a rooftop access ladder to the Performing Arts Center.
Thank you, Ms. Shealy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. All right, Mr. Cooper, can you update us on this?
Yes, ma'am. We are bringing forward to y'all for your consideration and approval 2 additional new projects to be funded from the 2018 bond from the under budget closed project account line item. The first is for River Bluff High School press box structural enhancements. We have been meeting with our architect of record and different engineers, geotechnical engineers and structural engineers regarding some issues that we've seen with what I'll call the wing wall. If you're standing on the 50 looking back at the press box, the left brick wing wall, there's been some settling in that area, and we've been studying that and taking advice of our contracted engineering companies to see what we need to do to remedy that. And they have put together a proposal of some steel work that needs to be done, and I imagine many other things that Mr. Jim Jett could to fill us in on in terms of the nuts and bolts of it, but we need to make those corrections there for that particular structure at River Bluff High.
Have we contracted with a company yet to do the work? No?
No, ma'am. We have gotten a quote, but
Which companies have we quoted with?
What we were kind of wanting to do, what we were wanting to do, we've been following this issue for a while, and we incorporated our design architect, our design structural engineer, and our geotechnical engineer that did our third-party testing during the original construction. We were asking to use referendum bond funds, correct? And our thinking in that was to use the referendum contractor so they all have ownership in this problem in correcting this issue.
Okay.
And that was contract construction. That was our intent. If we need to go another route, we'll be happy to do so.
Mr. Jett, the only question I have about that is, obviously, if it's something we see from the original project, I'd like to see the original construction contractor have an ability to fix it, but do we bring a third party or somebody in to inspect and make sure that that correction is right, or?
Yeah, we can. From what we can tell, to answer your question,
Right.
we look back through all the original documents. Everything appears to be built
Okay.
per drawings and specifications, per the bid documents. Everything, the soil compaction, it was all checked and inspected and appears to be done properly. So there's an unforeseen condition there.
Okay.
So to answer your question, yeah, I'll get anybody you want to inspect it. and make sure it's proper. At the end of the day, we just want to make sure we have a safe facility. Yes, sir.
So would it be worth calling, you know, like Ramjack or Mount Valley or a company like that to come out as a third party just to, or is that out of purview?
Well, actually, we already have.
You have, that's.
We
that's what I
have
was
been
wondering.
tracking this issue since 2016.
Okay.
Initially, we thought there was just some settlement in the top layers of the soil under the concrete. So we tore out concrete and we replaced it. In 2021, we documented that those walls have settled further. So we engaged our structural engineer, which is our design engineer from the original construction. He gave us a design for helical piers. We went in, we cut out concrete, we installed helical piers per the structural engineer, put all that back. Since then, we're starting to see lateral. Now, to cover our liability there, we engaged the structural engineer and the design architect again for remedial work there. He has given us a design for steel, additional steel, to tie those to this press box. So we're following the proper protocols, but I mean, I'm all for being transparent. We want to reach out to multiple contractors, multiple inspectors, you know.
If this has been going on for 10 years and we still are having problems, maybe a good idea is to bring in someone different to look at it. Because, I mean, it hasn't gotten fixed yet. I mean, they get one solution and then we have another engineering problem. So, I mean, I'm kind of thinking, you know, we probably need someone new to look at it because it doesn't seem like we've been dealing with it for 10 years. I mean, this probably should have been, I don't understand why it would take 10 years to fix a problem.
Because we don't know what the subsurface issue is. It could be something 100 feet deep that we don't even know about. And, I mean, let's look at all the weather events that we've had.
The flood.
Flood, hurricane. I mean, there's other factors there. I mean, I'm all, however you guys want to proceed, we're all for it. I'm just trying to limit the district's liability.
And it's only affecting one corner, you said? Or have you seen it in?
Prior to the helical piers in 2021, we had seen vertical settlement. After the helical piers, now we're seeing horizontal settlement. I mean, we can certainly bring in anybody, you know. When I bring in somebody else, I'm kind of taking the liability off of my original design team and my original contractor. I just gave him a pass.
I think that's a valid point.
So is there nothing written in the contracts if there is a E&O issue that we have to bring in a third party that we can't go back to the original contractors for reimbursement?
What's E&O?
Errors and omissions.
Expired, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I would think the statute of limitations and
We had that same situation with the retaining wall at the back of the property when it collapsed. It was beyond the time limit
yes.
that the original
Well,
contractor had.
and to do that, I have to prove that contractor has done something wrong. Up to this point, I can't prove that he's done anything. He has followed the design bid documents, and everything was inspected. So, and for errors and omissions insurance, there may be a $500,000 deductible. Our fix is $150,000.
That kind of goes to my question for you. I mean, your professional opinion, is there question of what our contractors have done, or is there complexity in the grounds or where maybe the building was built?
The question is the complexity of the grounds. If any of you are around when we were building River Bluff High School, Mr. Anderson may have been, that is on the Saluda River. That is what's called alluvial soil out there. A lot of weathered rock. There was a lot of cut and fill. There is most likely some subsurface water. I don't know that for a fact. I mean, we can all speculate. In my professional opinion, there is something going on in the subsurface deep that's causing that. At the press box itself, you're distributing that load in a larger area. Wing walls is more of a line load, you know, there. So if you have something going on the subsurface,
Have we called in a soil specialist or environmental?
yes, we have.
We have.
We, at the time during construction, we used GS2 engineering. They did our geotechnical, our soils testing. They have all that on record, and they have records of everything. That is a field section. Everything was built on top of existing soil, and it was documented and it was put in correctly. So I can't prove that the contractor did anything wrong above and I can't prove the architect or engineer did anything less than they should have done.
How much have we spent on the project so far?
With that, just that component, less than $100,000.
Since 2016?
The original site work out there was horrendous. I mean, it
Yes,
was
I remember.
lots and lots of moving dirt.
Bad dirt,
Yeah.
existing, you know. That was not the perfect site, put it that way.
Right.
Yeah. Should have been right.
So, Mr. Jetner Scoop, I can't speak for the whole board, but to me, what I'm hearing is potentially we're seeing a separate problem. I'm just trying to think about it logically. We've done the helical to try and resolve the vertical issues we're seeing. Now we're seeing more lateral movement. So I can't speak for everybody else, but just trying to be fair, I feel like the contractor has done something to address the vertical movement, but they didn't address the lateral movement, or either the lateral movement is new.
The lateral movement is new.
So I'd like to give them an opportunity to correct that, but I think you need to have somebody in there to kind of check and make sure they're not, I don't want to say it this way, that they're seeing the overall picture and not necessarily just, okay, now we're going to do this to address the lateral, when maybe they need to have more of a holistic approach, you know, to doing this again. I mean, because ideally you don't want to be in a position where a year from now, 2 years from now, you're going back to spend another $150,000 because now it's, you know, traversing in a different direction. So
Right.
I would just say probably be good to tell the contractor, you know, we really need to make sure we get a holistic final solution and then have somebody to check that. And I like Mr. Pizzuto's idea of maybe having a second person come in, but they're starting from ground one and trying to go back through and dig through everything versus this contractor still having some accountability and ownership.
Well, and it's not just the contractor, it's my design professionals as well.
Okay.
If I bring in another design professional,
Yeah.
then I've just released my original designer from his liability.
Right.
I'm not trying to do that.
Right.
Again, whatever you guys want to do, whichever direction you want us to take, we'll be happy to do that.
When you say release them from their liability, what do you mean?
I'm saying,
Because if there's a statute of limitations, because there always is in construction, once they get past that statute of limitations, they're not responsible for any liability in the first place anymore.
right.
So I'm trying to get what you're saying, release them of their liability. Because I believe it's 8 years in South Carolina, that structural.
All right. So when they touch it again, now they're not under that statute of limitations. Now we've opened up an old project and what they're doing now would be covered. They would have liability.
So start another
Yeah.
8 years,
Yeah.
basically is what you're kind of thinking for that particular.
Yes.
But wouldn't a new firm also have 8 years?
They would, but they could say, I didn't touch helical piers, I didn't touch the existing press box, I didn't. I'm just trying to look out for the district. Again, if we want to go a different route, that's perfectly fine.
So my question for the group is we've proposed a motion to make enhancements using certain bucket of funds from the 2018 bond. The details that we're getting into are a little out of the, I mean, they're separate from this overall issue, unless you're proposing that we use funds to pay for something in addition. So I'm wondering if we're going a little sideways from the motion, or if there's a request that we want to bring this back to understand exactly how we're going to go about building or making these changes, and that we want to have more of a say into that. Maybe that's where we're going.
Well, I was gonna say, I mean, I get your point, but I think if we're gonna release funds to fix something that still hasn't been fixed, or the last design made additional things, I wanna make sure that those funds are going for the right person and the right reason.
Can I interject something too?
Yeah.
Our architect is not charging us a fee to do this. Neither is our structural engineer.
Okay.
That being Jumper Carter C's and Johnson and King, which now is Larry King for Timberman and Kaiser Timberman. But because they are familiar with this issue, they know what we're dealing with, they haven't given me a proposal. All I have is for the contractor. If we go outside of that, we'll have to pay for it.
Mr. Jett, time is of the essence on this as well, isn't it? With football season getting ready to start, we don't want to
Yes, sir.
have that all torn up in the middle of football.
In my opinion, it's a liability.
All right. Any other questions for Mr. Cooper or Mr. Jett? Any other discussion? Okay. Well, we have a motion to approve the allocated 2018 bond referendum funds for improvements to River Bluff High School for press box structural enhancements, and to White Knoll High School to install a rooftop access ladder at the Performing Arts Center. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion carries. Thank you both. All right, board, so the next time we meet, school will be back in session. We hope everyone enjoys the remainder of their summer, and we look forward to, we do look forward to a successful school year. Miss Reese, do you have?
Yes, I'm so sorry. Point of clarification. So earlier when we were speaking about the RFP for the subcommittee,
Yes.
The specific language in that motion specifically says for her to include those four in that RFP. So as of right now, that would need to be included at the next meeting if the board wanted to update that. Assuming it wouldn't be too much trouble to update or amend the RFP, but right now, because that's what the board voted on specifically in that motion, Ms. Marsh will include that, so.
And open projects, which includes technology and furniture.
Those were specifically named in the motion, so she asked.
So that's what we did, but then this committee honed in and refined that, so that doesn't, like, usurp what we,
The board usurps the committee.
so,
But would there be any issues of including an extra project that maybe at the end of the day, we don't, as a board, want to move forward with?
No, I mean, if we need to make changes later, the board could
Okay.
at the August meeting.
okay. So at the August meeting, we'll make changes to align with what the committee said
Correct.
today.
Or we could amend the RFP and add that stuff to get it out quicker.
Right. So, Ms. Reese, what are the four projects that have to be added per the language?
So it says new White Knoll Elementary School, now South Lake Elementary. Number 2, new Lexington Middle School, now Lakeside Middle School. Number 3, the transportation facility. And number 4, Gilbert Primary, new GES.
So that's the campus that's currently operating as Gilbert Elementary School.
Centerville Elementary, right?
New
No.
GES.
Oh,
Oh,
GES.
the new
Got it.
GES.
Okay,
So new GS could be the
Gotcha.
new Gilbert Elementary or
Right.
Centerville.
That was kind of,
That's where it got fuzzy.
it got fuzzy, because when we hear new GES, some of us thought.
right. Mr. Rice, did you make that motion at that meeting?
It was a group effort.
Nick? Okay. Who,
I made it, but
which
then
did
we-
you mean by that? Do you know which one you meant?
I think we all thought we were talking about Centerville, right?
That's what I was thinking, but I think through discussions, it was other people, when they thought new GES, it was, like I said, I was thinking Centerville, because if you live in Gilbert, the new Gilbert Elementary School was Centerville.
Right.
But everyone else, it was the primary, then it was, now it's back to being the elementary school. So that's where some people thought it was
Okay.
the old elementary school.
I mean, I would think you could include Centerville, but I think the questions we've come up with will still be the same questions we want to know about that. What's our
Yeah.
land procedures, what's our
Yeah,
change?
that was the
order?
exact questions we had, so.
Okay.
So I'm comfortable with amending and I'm a committee members also. I'm comfortable with amending the RFP to just include Centerville there, but I don't think the questions change.
Correct.
But there's not in their way.
Yep.
Does that increase the cost of what we have to pay?
That's when.
Right.
So mainly, mainly when we talk about the unfinished projects, that's where my concern is, because there's lots of technology and there's lots of furniture. So if we put that in there, those are lots of little projects. So that will increase your cost.
Yes.
So that's the main part of what need to make sure that we're clear on what that is.
So I'm interpreting what you're saying, that possibly at our August meeting, we should make a motion to amend that to
I was
remove
under
those
the
things.
impression that it was gonna be on this agenda, personally.
We did discuss it.
The agenda for today, it
But-
just says
Didn't include
information,
action.
so the public isn't expecting you to
Okay.
vote on today on anything,
Well,
but I
just to change the motion, because now, if we don't change the motion, then we're gonna have to add these projects to the RFP in order to get it out in a timely manner. Otherwise, we have to wait until our August meeting to get the RFP out if we wanna change it, correct?
Or the alternative is, I put it out the way that it is, the way that it was stated in your board, which motion that you agreed to. And then August 19th, you all decide what you decide. And if it's different from what's there, I can amend it.
You can.
But I'm sorry.
You can't amend it.
Yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. But keep in mind, after everything that I do to an RFP, while it's still open to the public, you have to wait 2 weeks, right? So it'll add 14 days, which is fine, because we'd be at 6 weeks.
let's wait to go ahead and get it out.
Yeah.
Yes.
So,
I think you go ahead and include it with the motion, since we don't have a meeting until August, because the technology and upgrades has almost 2,381 line items, if I remember it correctly. It's almost $27 million. That is definitely going to raise the cost that all the contractors get.
So if we're going to amend it and people have to resubmit their,
It wouldn't be,
Thursday.
we wouldn't amend it, it wouldn't be closed yet or opened. So they would not have submitted their proposals yet.
okay.
So we would do, after, let's say 2 weeks after August 19th would be our opening date for the RFP, for the proposals to come in. So we just time it correctly.
Okay.
Yeah, and then just, once I do, we're gonna do a pre-proposal, which I've had, they've volunteered to be on, we'll just make sure that they understand.
So why couldn't we just wait until our next meeting?
You
What
can.
does that timeline change for us?
So you would be waiting 4 weeks, so I couldn't
Yeah,
put it
I'm
out
not-
until
No, we're not waiting.
August 20th. So I couldn't put it out until August 20th officially.
you just get it out sooner.
Yeah, so
We're aware of it.
you all have either option, I'll do either one.
Right, so we put it out sooner, but then we're gonna change what it is.
It's just taking a couple of projects away.
Okay.
But I see where you're going, I completely see that. So I see both sides of both of it. So if you're changing it in the middle of it, yes, there may be people that get confused of what projects they are. But then if you wait too long, then you're gonna have to wait probably 6 weeks.
Okay, I'm just throwing this out here. Are we gonna have a quorum at the new employee breakfast next Thursday? Could we do a special called meeting next Thursday to check?
I will not be here, but
I'll do it.
That would just push us back 1 week.
I mean, I really think the RFP committee needs to make that decision. Bring it to the board.
He's right.
next Thursday is the meeting?
No, I'm saying it's kind of the RFP committee's decision to, when to put it out and if we want to amend it later.
I mean, it's better than adding scope to the project.
Well, just kinda looks
Taking
like
away
that.
is better than adding, right?
It happens all the time.
Okay.
I mean, if we do it this way, we're waiting, it'll add up 6 weeks to the project. If we get it out now, it'll add maybe 2 weeks. So, I mean, all we're doing is we're gonna remove maybe 2 projects in the next meeting. It's not gonna change much.
And Madam Chair, I agree with Mr. Pizzuti that that committee does need to make that decision or make that change, and not us. We'd have to go to them first and then come back to us. So they would have to meet again between now and next Thursday.
Yeah.
No, they've already met. They've already decided what,
No, we haven't
If
decided
you
this new
want-
information.
Yeah, if you want to change it though.
the new information. I thought the information she presented was the information y'all decided.
Well, the part about the technology and the upgrades being included and taking that out, the committee really needs to come back and align with what the motion was, is what I'm saying. Because remember, the committee has now, technically, if you look at it, the committee has come out with their recommendation that is
Nobody
less
looked at
than
the
what was
motion?
in the motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, none of us thought that we would have to amend the motion in order to proceed.
Right, y'all didn't align the RFP with what the motion was, is what I'm saying.
Right, we
Right.
narrowed the scope of the work because that was really the request of the board, was to keep it narrow. So we narrowed it as much as we possibly could. And now that it's so narrow, we have to change the motion or change the RFP.
I mean, the bottom line is the motion was there to develop, the committee to develop the RFP. But the RFP that's been developed does not align with everything that was in the motion, is what we're saying. So I think, kind of like what Mr. Anderson said, from a committee's perspective, it's like, it's not new information, but the committee now understands we came up with a scope, but it didn't fully align with the motion. And so I agree with the committee should reconvene, bring back to the board, okay, based on that motion, here's what we have come up with.
That's right.
And if we want to change that motion and take those out, then we do that at that time.
Which is what I thought we were.
Okay, so y'all are gonna meet again before our August meeting and bring something to us in August.
I think that's what we need to do, I think we need to meet again as a committee and make sure we shore everything up, and then we come back to the board and say, here's where we are, so that we're
Okay.
aligned with it all.
So based on that, we're holding the proposal until we come back as a board to refine the scope?
I mean, unless my committee members disagree with me, I think that's what you have to do. I think that's
Because of your legal,
right.
I mean,
So Chris, you're recommending that we do not proceed with the RFP and amend it?
Well, all I'm saying is, if you proceed with the RFP now, you have to put everything in it.
Right, and then amend it?
And then you have to come back and amend it later. I don't know if one is saving time or not, is what I'm saying.
I think that'd be easier.
To just release it and then come back and, I mean,
It's probably 6 of one, half dozen of the other. It's cleaner if you wait until you come back to the next board meeting to refine our ask, in my mind. But, I mean, I can go either way.
I mean, it's not, and
Yeah, I mean, the other way that's not unusual, it's customary, so.
Yeah.
yeah, I
whatever,
mean,
y'all.
It's a matter of 2 weeks we're going about.
Yeah.
so I guess as the general consensus, you release it with everything in it that came from the motion and with the plans to amend it later on. And that would be another 2 weeks that you would add on once you do that amending. Okay, I'm comfortable with that.
So, Mr. Rice, are you suggesting that we amend the motion?
I'm suggesting we amend the RFP. I'm suggesting we issue the RFP as is that aligns with the original motion.
There you go.
So we'll add the technology and upgrades into it.
And the Gilbert School.
Yes, and the new GES.
Which is,
Centerville.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Ms. Miller's
Just
coming to
want to
make
make
sure we're
sure
aligned.
when we do the RFP, what was the original motion in March was old primary, new GES, which is actually our current GES building.
Okay.
That's what, because on your monthly board report, that is the building and that's how it's referred to.
Correct.
It's not Centerville. Correct.
Okay,
I'm just making sure that's, everybody understands.
okay. So it's what's currently called Gilbert Elementary School is what would be included
Yes.
in that
And
RFP.
then we could have a motion, or, you know, an amendment done
Right.
if the board was to make an amendment to their motion to remove that location,
Okay.
change that location, and also refine the unfinished projects to what the committee recommends.
Okay. I understand.
All right, so at this time, we're gonna stick with what we've got. You'll put it out there in
Yes.
August. The committee will have met again, and they'll bring back to us something matching what our motion was. Amending what our motion was.
She'll put it out before August, yeah,
And so we'll change it.
in a week.
Okay. All right, thank you. All right.
Let's read the motion again. We gonna vote on this?
No.
It's not a vote. That's a vote.
Not gonna- All right, Dr. Price, first official meeting as superintendent.
Yes.
Yes.
However, you've been at the table for a while, so. All right, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Madam Chair, I move that we adjourn.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Rice. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.